Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 310 of a year of change. And I know that usually Mondays are sort of a topical day where we discuss like how we were beaten up as kids or how we can't sleep because we're too fat. And Thursdays are more along the lines of the news stories and things like that. And Fridays are sort of the documentary thing. But over the past few weeks, it has just kind of gone every which way all over the place. And so we're going to keep going every which way all over the place and sort of mash everything in together today because we've got a couple of things that came up last week that I sort of wanted to address today. And there's sort of they were wrong, now they're right. Not exactly right, but there were things we were waiting for. Anyway, just going to get into it. So, if you remember, a couple of months ago, one of the last documentaries that we put up was from Fifth Estate, and they were looking at vitamin supplements and diet pills and all these little protein supplement like bodybuilding things and diet, what do you call it? Additives? I don't want to say supplements again because that would be weird. Need better vocabulary. But it was looking at all these claims that these things gave you, like sort of like the superfood thing, like Wonderberries and all the other fancy shit that you can go out and you can spend hundreds of dollars on, and they don't really do anything for you for losing weight or helping with exercise or anything like that. So that was actually part of a joint investigation between Fifth Estate and Marketplace. And so if you remember, Marketplace had delayed theirs. They started to air it. They cut it off and went, no, there's a discrepancy in the numbers here somewhere. We're going to go back, take a look at it. There's some sort of weird thing going on with the information. They wanted to make sure everything was clear before they actually aired anything. Or anything more, I should say. So as it turns out, this week, or last week, we found out what it was that was causing the problem. And basically what they had done, they had taken all these different products with all these various claims saying, well, super vitamin C, and this will help you do this with your legs, and this will help you lose weight and all the other stuff, and had taken it to a lab and whose job it is really just to sort of test products like this and give you an accurate representation, say, well, here's the content of it. What they found was that the numbers from those reports were wrong, and that's why they stopped the airing. Not that everything was just sort of way, way off base, but they did point out two specific examples where the numbers were way, way off. On one of them, there was a protein shake powder thing, and they said that there was a large number, or large percentage of it was simply just raw filler. There was not a lot of protein. There wasn't, all the things that they decided to put in, or that they say were in there, just simply weren't in there. And what they found is that that's not entirely true. They didn't really go into a lot of detail regarding it, but they did say that the initial information was incorrect. There wasn't as much filler in there as there is, or as they originally reported. Same thing with one of the vitamin supplements. There was a vitamin C supplement that claimed to have 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C in it, and the lab came back and said, there's around 300, 350. So obviously that was wrong as well. So there are a number of different things that sort of went wrong with it. So now Marketplace is taking the time to go back and say, okay, now number one, we apologize to the ones that we did report on because as far as we know, as of right now, those numbers are not correct. Number two, the lab that actually did the study for them, or the ones that were doing the analysis for them, they've gone back to them to find out what went wrong. Because this isn't just a matter of just those two items being incorrect. This was a systemic failure across the entire study, that the majority, I guess, of these numbers, they just were inaccurate. Now, I think a lot of the products that are still out there are still bullshit products. There's a lot of stuff that we obviously don't need, and a lot of them are just sort of a cash grab. But you can't really say with 100% accuracy, well, this one is bad, and this one is bad, and this one is bad, without knowing the numbers behind it. And that's what their main issue is right now, that they're trying to go back, redo the numbers. Well, number one, find out the actual, content of these products so that they can correct themselves. But two, they need to go back to that lab and say, we need to find out what's been going on, what happened to cause such a huge failure all the way around, and why you gave us this report that, it's just wrong, all over the place. So they're trying to work with that. They're trying to work with the lab. The lab has officially apologized as well, saying, this is what we do. This isn't like that you took it to your friend's basement and you went, no, it's okay. I have litmus paper. I can totally tell you if it's an acid or a base. This is what they do. They analyze these products and they come out and say, well, here's the content of this, 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 this. So they're still trying to find out where they failed in their reporting. Marketplace is still trying to figure out where, what else they can do regarding it, and just overall saying, okay, you know what, we made a mistake. We aren't going to report any more on this until we know for sure, what the real numbers are. Then they're probably going to come out with it. So I don't think that second half of that documentary series is actually ever going to come out. And if it does, they'll probably just have a little coda at it saying, by the way, we kind of screwed up the first time. We want to make sure that this is correct this time. I'm assuming they're probably not going to use the same lab, but you never know. If the lab finds out what's going on, it should be good. In general, I still stand by my opinion that I don't think that we really need any of that stuff. I mean, if you have an actual deficiency in something, then by all means, take your vitamins, take your minerals, whatever it is that you need. But if you're just looking to get sort of that extra little boost out of it, I don't think we really need it. We can get the majority of what we need from our diet and stuff like that, and we should be okay. So that was the first sort of correction that I wanted to bring back, because it's been a very long time since we saw that supplement documentary, and it just sort of fell by the wayside and forgot about it. But I've been checking every now and then and trying to find out when this other one's going to be coming out, and apparently never. Right now, anyway, that's how it looks. But the second thing that came out this week, which I thought was really, really interesting, is another one that I have given a lot of flack for a lot of diets, like Atkins and keto and paleo and everything else. And when we've addressed them, we've gone in, we've taken a look at them, and we've said, okay, not that they don't, diets don't work. We know that they don't work, but it's not because of their makeup. It's because when you go into a diet, you know that it's temporary. You know that you're cutting out a number of different foods. You're going to be completely changing your eating habits for a finite amount of time. And then when you're done, then you go back to your old eating habits. And of course, we gain the weight back. It's how it goes. It's how it's always gone. That's how it always will go. And this is why we focused so much during this past year on changing how we eat, what we eat, the sort of the core reasons behind our eating, more than just saying you can't have cake, you can't have cookies, you can't have chips and pizza and all the other stuff. We still can. We just need to stop having it every single day. I'm not going to go into that again because I keep repeating myself, and I feel like I've been repeating myself for a couple of weeks. And I figure if I'm noticing it, someone else has noticed it as well. Anyway, what came out this week was, well, this isn't exactly new. They've had this sort of comes out every couple of years anyway, but there was this fairly, focused study on the keto diet, but not necessarily for weight loss. What they found is that people with schizophrenia can actually benefit from a keto diet. And what they found was that this very, very small subset, they treated animals that had symptoms and exhibited displays of behavior that were consistent with schizophrenia, and fed a control group regularly, fed another group a keto diet. What they found was that the group on the keto diet sort of exhibited less frequent instances of the behaviors that are consistently seen with schizophrenia. Now, schizophrenia is not multiple personality disorder. Just for any of you out there, you can go read up on it, look up on it. I was going to say look at some movies, but the majority of movies end up turning them into psychopathic killers, which is not exactly true. Not exactly true. Not remotely true, I should say. There are a number of, go Google something and say, you need to find a movie that shows a realistic interpretation of schizophrenia. There are a couple of good ones out there that you can take a look at. A lot of it's just sort of confusion, muddled thinking. There are some that get those hallucinations and paranoid delusions and things like that. So what they found, and we aren't going to get way into that, but what they found was that in this group, and this isn't a guarantee by any means. Keto's been used for a while to sort of help people with epilepsy as well. I think mainly children, but with this, they decided they were going to take a look at this and see what the effect had. And what they found was that the high-fat, low-carb diet does alleviate a couple of things, really. One, it sort of lessens the frequency of the symptoms that they saw with the other lab animals. Mice, particularly, I think is what they were. I'll put a link in the description below, just so you can take a look at the quick little blurb. It's just going to be a quick little summary of the study that they did. Very, very small sample, but it was significant enough that they looked at it and went, this warrants more research. Looking into this to see if it's actually going to help. And part of the thing is too is that what they found is that when you're on medication for schizophrenia, there are some side effects that come along with that, which is part of the reason why people do go off their meds and they run into issues from time to time. And some of it is weight gain. There's weight gain. There's onset of type 2 diabetes, things like that. Unfortunately, it's sort of do you deal with the schizophrenia or do you deal with the weight gain and the diabetes? So what they found is that with this keto diet, on top of actually seemingly alleviating some of the manifestations that come along with schizophrenia, it also helps control and regulate the weight. So there isn't as much of a weight gain as there normally would be on the regular medication. So there's sort of a two-pronged approach there. Now again, I'm not saying that, keto is great then, we should all be on keto and everything else. No. And even if you are schizophrenic, and I still wouldn't say, okay, well, you need to go on the keto diet. It's obviously different for everybody. It's just that it's interesting that, especially where I've sort of badmouthed every single diet that's out there, and I still stand by that. I don't think for what we're trying to do, I don't think it's for us. A lot of our problems don't stem from, well, you know what, I'm fat because I don't eat enough fat and I eat too many carbs. No, just in general, we eat too much. We eat the wrong foods. We've cleaned up a lot of our eating. The only thing that we've really sort of cut out has been, and haven't really cut it out, but we've lessened the amount that we're getting, are processed foods. So instead of buying chicken fingers, which I did buy, instead of buying chicken fingers in general, we buy chicken. Every now and then you want a chicken finger. Instead of frozen pizza, we're making stuff from scratch, which I have not bought, so we're okay there. And just generally buying fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, fresh meat, stuff like that. Making stuff at home rather than just buying it in a container and throwing it in the microwave every time. That's really been the only restriction that we've really put on ourselves. And even that, it's mainly just to sort of cut down on the amount of sugar and sodium that's in the food. Not that we're gaining any master. Ew. I don't know where I was going with that one. Not that we're gaining any massive health benefits from the change, just sort of cutting back on the amount of sodium and sugar and all the little things that sort of get added in there. But I think for us, a lot of our eating habits, they've been changed just because we're trying to get a nice balance. We aren't cutting any foods out. We aren't saying, oh, sorry, can't have that, but I can have 4 blocks of chocolate and I need to have, a glass of grass juice to go with it and then 4 rice cakes and a piece of bean sprout. We haven't really gotten down to that nitty gritty because I think a lot of our issues are simply just we eat too much and we eat the wrong things all the time. So we've gotten a bit of a control over that, and it's been helpful. We've lost quite a bit of weight overall, and even if you're doing half a pound a week, that's still 25 pounds, which we talked about yesterday as well. Except my math is better today. Papa, haha, I meant. Can't talk at all. Oh, God. Anyway, I just thought that it was interesting because, we've seen that the change it can make with us, and it's interesting to see how a diet, like what you're eating and how you're eating, can affect things so severe as schizophrenia and epilepsy and everything else. We've seen what it does with diabetes, but that's really because we associate that with, our eating habits and the amount of sugar that we're taking in and the amount of fat and everything else. But when you start thinking about, mental issues like epilepsy. Well, epilepsy is sort of a physical issue, but still, epilepsy and schizophrenia and things like that, you don't really immediately make that connection to what you're eating, that, whether or not it's going to be helpful. And obviously this is not a cure. This is not going to be something that, keto will cure schizophrenia. It won't. It alleviates some of the symptoms. It helps with some side effects of the medication. That's mainly what they're looking at. And again, very, very small sample size that they're looking at right now, but it was enough to say we should probably look into this a little bit further to see if we can confirm what we, originally are thinking and sort of go from there. And we've seen what it does to ourselves. Even if you take everything else out, if you take out, joint pain no longer being a factor, we sleep better, we can breathe better, we can move around a lot more, our clothes are fitting better. If you just emotional issues, psychological issues, you take everything else away. Just us changing our diet, and if you're only looking at just our weight, we've lost, just a big chunk of fat out of our lives. So we know that the physical aspect is there. So, it's, I suppose, not too much of a far cry to look at that and say, well, you know what, when there are psychological issues that are going in there, which is still, it's a lot like computers, like software or hardware is just software, or software is just hardware, one of the two. There's still a physical aspect to it, whether it's misfiring neurons or whatever the issue is. It's odd to see that there's someone's diet can have that much of an effect on them, aside from just how our bodies feel, just in general, which doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm trying to say? Instead of just saying, well, okay, they were fat, now they're not as fat, as opposed to, well, they've got schizophrenia, they still have schizophrenia, but there are fewer occurrences of it, and they don't have the side effects from the medicine, just from changing what we're eating. And it's stuff like that I find really, really interesting. And again, this comes up every couple of years when they'll say, don't forget, this can actually help with high-fat, low-carb diets and things like that, and it sort of falls by the wayside. But I hope it's something that they're going to pursue and that they'll hopefully get funding for as well. And, just sort of look a little bit deeper into it. It would be nice if they did find something that would help alleviate some of the additional stress that goes on top of all these people. So, anyway, that was pretty much it. I'm still standing by my sort of, we don't need the diet portion of it. As helpful as it may be, go to your doctor before you do anything like that. But for us, I think what we're trying to do is just get that balance going and eat properly. I don't think we need to do any gimmicks or say, well, I can have, high fat but low carb, or high carb and low protein, or whatever it is that, we've decided to do. I think overall, as long as we're eating things in moderation and, being, what's the word? I was going to say prepared or proper. Being sensible. There we go. Just using common sense and saying I shouldn't eat 15 of these in one sitting, then it's been working. So I still wouldn't really recommend going on a diet per se. There's that, I don't know, it seems to automatically say, well, how long are you going to stay on this diet? There's that, there's that cutoff point. We don't want to do that. We want to keep going the way that we've been going. But it was mainly that, and of course, the Marketplace documentary, which I've been eagerly looking forward to seeing, but unfortunately it doesn't look like it's ever going to see the light of day. But I did want to bring those two up, which is again all over the place during the week, but we've kind of been all over the place anyway for the past little while, and it's a little difficult to sort of get back on track with that, especially when it's so difficult trying to find good documentaries on exercise because they're almost all fitness videos, and trying to cram as much as we can in because it feels like we're just sort of under the wire because we've got less than 2 months left. But anyway, that's all I wanted to bring up to you today. So you can go in, take a look at those. As I say, I'm going to put a quick little link in the description below so you can take a look at just sort of the summary of the study that was done. And again, go up, take a look at some of the, I guess, not necessarily sympathetic, but realistic depictions of people with schizophrenia in movies. Because there are a ton of them all over the place, but they all get it a little bit wrong. But there are a few good ones out there that you can take a look at and give you a better understanding all the way around. But for right now, I am going to leave this video here, so thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video.